and thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Ami Choi, and I'm a statewide tourism specialist at the University of Minnesota Extension Tourism Center. Today, I'll be sharing a little bit about our recent research projects that looks at equitable access to water-based recreation and the constraints faced by Black communities in Minnesota. For our time together today, I'll walk you through the study background and research methods and highlight some of the key findings and takeaways that point to opportunities for more equitable and welcoming outdoor recreation. You might be familiar with the idea of outdoor recreation, especially spending time in blue spaces like lakes and rivers can bring you joy, social connection, and multiple health benefits. But access to those benefits isn't always equal. Black, Indigenous, and people of color often have less access and lower participation levels compared to non-Hispanic white populations. And here in Minnesota, despite our many lakes and rivers, Black Minnesotans continue to experience inequitable access, and they remain significantly underrepresented in water-based recreational opportunities. These gaps are influenced by multiple factors, including unequal opportunities, historical exclusion, and cultural disconnection. So with that in mind, our study, part of a larger multi-phase, multi-method project, explored how Black African American Minnesotans experience and perceive water-based recreation along Lake Superior's North Shore. And we also compared perspectives between African-born immigrants and US-born participants to see both similarities and differences. Okay, so specifically what we did for this study, we conducted semi-structured in-depth individual interviews with Black African American adults in the Twin Cities and Duluth area, Minnesota. Our interview guide was created and designed based on literature and feedback from experts in outdoor recreation sector. It included 4 sections with questions on outdoor recreation experiences and perceived constraints with water recreation, specifically along Lake Superior. All questions were pre-tested before we did the actual interviews. Our participants were recruited with purposive and snowball sampling through community networks, organizations, and local outreach. They had to meet all 4 to 5 eligibility criteria to be able to participate, and they received compensation for completing their interviews and for appreciation for their time. Data was collected both in person and online through Zoom. From September to November 2024, we conducted a total of 30 interviews, and all interviews were audio recorded, transcribed verbatim. We had dual coders for reliability and analyzed based on socio-ecological model of recreation constraints as a framework. And we also held follow-up community discussions to check themes and ensure trustworthiness of qualitative data. Here, I'd like to share some of the key findings from our interviews. Similar to other studies on recreational constraints, we also identified that there are 4 different types of constraints that includes individual, interpersonal, context-specific, and systemic constraints. At the individual level, the most frequently identified constraints across both groups were safety concerns, financial limitation, and lack of time. Some of the key themes under safety concerns included experiencing personal and/or community trauma, lack of confidence in water-based abilities, and intergenerational fear of water. The US-born participants additionally reported health limitations and feeling unwelcome, and the immigrant participants also reported cultural beliefs and folklore about water, which they view water as both sacred and dangerous, and it plays an important role with their interaction with water recreation. At the interpersonal level, There were three key themes that shaped participants' experiences and perceptions of water recreation. Lack of having family role models was one, and negative behavior by others, ranging from verbal to physical hostility to more subtle and implied forms of discrimination. And racial stereotyping was also mentioned that were deterring their participation to water recreation. Constraints that are more context specific reflected both physical characteristics and socio-cultural meanings linked to particular recreational settings. For the US born participants, some of the themes often connected to northern Minnesota, and these included the combination of limited availability and expenses of lodging, long travel distances for folks living in the Twin Cities area, concerns for water quality, and perceiving outdoor spaces and activities in northern Minnesota not so much relevant or reflective of Black identities. Among the immigrant participants, cultural and historical backgrounds played an important role in shaping how certain water bodies were perceived and experienced. And at the system level constraints, only the US born participants identified the ongoing influence of historical racism, limited access to information about recreational opportunities, and lack of public transportation options to recreational sites. All right, so some of the key takeaways from this study, we saw that there are both common and distinct constraints across the groups, the US born and African born immigrants. And so, with programs serving diverse populations, it will be really important to consider and address these multiple levels of constraints and really focus on supporting skill building, improving outreach, and reducing system level constraints to make the outdoor recreation spaces more welcoming, safe, and engaging for everyone. Also, the transportation investment will be critical for access and expanding opportunities. For future work, quantitative assessments and community co-created interventions and action plans would be an important direction for next steps. That's all I have. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and for your attention. Thank you.